Have you ever felt that as a Muslim woman, there are not enough Islamic programs out there dedicated to just you? Have you ever had questions run through your mind about your role as a Muslim woman, your rights and responsibilities, or just general matters? Just Us Women is a program dedicated to you, the Muslim woman. Islam Life Radio has tailored Just Us Women to meet the needs of our Muslim sisters in order for them to gain authentic knowledge. Our host and teacher for this program, Ummu Maahir Ismaa'eel, will deliver and expand your minds on various topics related to women's fiqh, motivational talks, and how to be among the best women to earn Allah Azza wa Jal's pleasure in this life and the next, insha'Allah. So be sure to join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Just Us Women, brought to you by IslamLifeRadio.com.
Provocative. Education coming full circle. From the author of Muhammad's Role in Islam, 50 Concepts Brought by Muhammad, Holy Wars, Crusades, Jihad, Biography and Mission of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, is the host and author Jalal Abu al-Rub. Provocative challenges false perceptions and misconceptions about Islam, the Quran, Muhammad, and Islamic law. Not intimidated and unafraid to answer all questions about Islam according to Allah's book and Islam's messenger. Tune in to listen and or engage the host with hopes, doubts, criticism, or fears as we bring your Islamic education full circle by spreading the truth of what Allah has ordained on His creation. Provocative. Education coming full circle.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Are you experiencing a difficult situation? Going through stress, anxiety, confusion, or even depression? Perhaps something's troubling you and you don't know who to ask and where. Maybe you've done a sin and you don't know how to deal with it to make everything better and redeem yourself. You might even be wanting to consider marriage and have someone in mind, but don't know how to take the matter forward in a halal way. Are you looking for advice and guidance, which is also Islamically sound and authentic? If so, then your prayers have been answered. Islam Life Radio is now offering a free, confidential, anonymous, impartial, and non-judgmental counseling service based on the Quran and authentic Sunnah. Email us now at counseling@islamliferadio.com.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala sahbihi wa sallam. Welcome, sisters, to our segment this evening on preparing for Ramadan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We've made it to another week for another presentation. And as the excitement builds, as we get closer and closer to this great month that is quickly upon us, Alhamdulillah, we want to just prepare ourselves in the best way, not becoming overzealous, but again, and not being lazy, but treading the middle course in our preparation. So as we get closer, and again, we get more and more excited and zealous regarding fasting on Ramadan, I want us to keep in mind to avoid fasting on the day of doubt. And a lot of us are trying to make up our days. We wait, the procrastinators, we waited to the last minute. We've got a lot of days to make up, and we're fasting down to the last minute. And for those ladies, then yes, if you absolutely have to make up days, and you're going to be fasting up until the last minute, and hopefully that will not include the 30th of Sha'ban. But the 30th of Sha'ban is considered the day of doubt. And is the last day of Sha'ban, or is it the first day of Ramadan? This is the question. When we get to this point, will we be fasting the last day of Sha'ban or the first day of Ramadan? So that is why it's called the day of doubt. And fasting on this day is haram because the Prophet ﷺ said, fast when you see the new moon and break your fast when you see the new moon. And if you're not sure, then complete the number of Sha'ban as 30 days. So this is the issue for us, and this hadith was documented by Imam Bukhari. Ammar ibn Yasir said, "Who may Allah be pleased with him, whoever fasts on the day concerning which there is doubt has disobeyed Abul Qasim alayhi salatu wasalam." And Abul Qasim is the Prophet alayhi salam. And this hadith was documented by Imam at-Tirmidhi and then further classified as Sahih by Imam al-Albani. And Hafiz ibn Hajar, may Allah be pleased with him, said it was understood from this that it is haram to fast the day of doubt because the Sahaba would not say such a thing based on personal opinion. So reports such as this has the same status as a marfu' hadith. So let's just conclude with a statement from Sheikh Uthaymeen, who said the most correct opinion of all the opinions regarding this matter of fasting the day of doubt or the 30th of Sha'ban, he said that it is haram. But if it is proven to the ruler that it is obligatory to fast this day, and he commands the people to fast, then no one should go against his opinion. And that means that no one should show that he is not fasting on that day. Rather, a person who has a different opinion may not fast, but he should do so secretly. So this doesn't concern, again, those folks who are fasting your regular, if you're used to fasting Mondays and Thursdays, you're used to fasting the fast of Dawood every other day, and of course if you have days to make up. But if it is should be avoided at all costs, to not fast on this day if it is possible. Avoid it altogether. So that was the first thing. Just be aware that we don't want to fast on the 30th of Sha'ban if it is possible. So fasting in the last couple of days of Sha'ban, really we should be careful of it altogether. Now, we now want to turn to some of the... So again, I want to return to some reminders as we... go into this blessed month of fasting Ramadan and this great worship, looking at some of the reminders that we have gone over, inshallah. And we begin with a girl and fasting. As a young girl entering into womanhood, is she required to fast or not? So if a girl reaches adulthood by witnessing one of the signs of puberty, including menstruation, then at that time the obligation of fasting applies to her. Now this statement is from Sheikh Fawzan, may Allah preserve him, from his rulings pertaining to Muslim women. Alhamdulillah. So again, he said that if a girl reaches adulthood by witnessing one of the signs of puberty, including menstruation, then at that time the obligation of fasting applies to her. A girl may start to menstruate when she is 9 years of age, and some of these girls may be ignorant that fasting is obligatory upon them at that time. They do not fast because they think that they are still too young. Their families may not order them to fast, and this is a great mistake, leaving one of the pillars of Islam. Any girl who does this must make up the fasting which she missed since the time she started to menstruate, even if a long period of time has passed, because she is still held accountable for that fasting and is obligatory upon her while making up her fast to feed a poor person half of a sa'i of food every day for fasting. So to remind the mothers, keep an eye on your girls, and if they are in fact menstruating, they have reached puberty, and even if it is at the age of 9 years old, then do not go with the Western society that she is still a child. She is now mukallif. She's responsible by Islam for the ordinances of Islam, so she's responsible for fasting. And those on whom the fasting is obligatory. Now, if the month of Ramadan comes, it is obligatory upon every male and female adult Muslim in full health and who is not traveling to fast. Whoever is sick or traveling during the month could break their fast and make up the number of days they missed at a later time. As Allah has stated in 185 of Al-Baqarah, as it is interpreted into English, so whoever is present at his home and not traveling during that month should fast that month. But whoever is ill or on a journey, the same number of days which one did not observe their fast must be made up from other days. So this is from Al-Baqarah 185. In the same way, whoever witnesses the month but is of old age and is not capable of fasting or has a sickness which is permanent without any hope of it being cured at any time in the future, whether male or female, should break their fast and feed a poor person every day a half a sa'i of a staple food of the locality. As Allah has mentioned in Al-Baqarah 184 and is interpreted, and as for those who can fast with difficulty, it is a ransom, the feeding of one person for every day. So if you are unable to fast, one more time as a reminder to our sisters, if you are diabetic or if you have some health issue that would cause you harm, if you fast, you're not obligated to fast, and in fact it's impermissible for you to fast because you will be harming yourself unnecessarily when you have been given the rukhsah from Allah to feed people instead of harming yourself by fasting. Remember, this is the religion of ease. This is a religion of balance, and Allah wants ease for us. He doesn't want hardship for us. That which we are not able to bear, we are not burdened by it. Allah says that He does not burden a soul with what they are not able to bear. He does not burden us with that. This is from Surah Al-Baqarah as well. So the meaning of that statement of Allah is that we are not responsible for that which we cannot accomplish. If we're not able to do it, just like the Hajj for the female is not obligated to perform the Hajj if she is not able. Well, no one is actually, but in our case, the ability to perform Hajj would also include a mahram. So it's, we have to have a mahram to perform the Hajj. So if we do not have that mahram, then it's not on us to perform Hajj. So in the same light, if you don't have the ability to fast, then it is not on you to fast. Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, this is for the old person who has no hope of recovery. Narrated by Imam al-Bukhari. The same ruling applies for a sick person who has an incurable sickness. They do not have to make up the fast because of their incapability. A woman has certain specific excuses that make it permissible for her to break her fast during the month of Ramadan, on the condition that she makes up the days that she misses because of these excuses. And so from them is menstruation and postpartum bleeding. It is not permissible for a woman to fast while in these two states or conditions, and it is obligatory upon her to make up the days later. And this is proved by what is reported in the Sahih of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim from our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, when she said, we were ordered to make up the fasting, and we were ordered to make up the fasting, and we were not ordered to make up the prayer. So again, she said, we were ordered to make up the fasting, and we were not ordered to make up the prayer. She said this when when a woman asked her, why is it that the menstruating woman makes up the fast but does not make up the prayers? So again, she responded with this when a woman asked her, why is it that the menstruating woman makes up the fast but does not make up the prayers? And she explained that this is one of the matters that are based absolutely on revelation, and we simply follow what has been decreed in the Quran and the Sunnah. We simply follow what has been decreed in the Quran and the Sunnah. As for the wisdom behind this, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah stated in the Majmu'ah al-Fatawa, he said a woman loses her blood through the menstrual blood that leaves her body. The menstruated woman is capable of fasting at times other than during her menstruation, during which her own blood leaves her body. Fasting in this condition is easy, so no blood that strengthens the body is being lost. Fasting during her menstruation would mean that blood that nourishes her body and it is a part of would be lost, and this would entail the weakening of her body, and fasting would become difficult, and thus she has been ordered to fast outside of her menstruation. So again, the wisdom of this is that when she's bleeding, she's going to be in a weaker state. We are in a weaker state when we're on our menstruation, and we as females know what our bodies go through when we are menstruating. We go through a lot, and every female understands that. So this is a mercy of Allah Ta'ala that He has not burdened us with fasting in that condition. Alhamdulillah. And number 2, pregnancy and breastfeeding. So Sheikh Fawzan stated that if fasting while a woman is pregnant or is breastfeeding will harm her or her child or both of them, then she should break her fast. If the harm that caused her to break her fast affected only her child and not herself, then she must make up the days that she missed and feed a poor person against each day that she missed. If the harm were to affect her only, then she would only make up the fast that she missed. Again, if the harm were to affect her only, then she would only make up the fast that she missed. And this is because both the pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman are included in the statement of Allah Ta'ala in Al-Baqarah as it is interpreted into English. And as for those who can fast with difficulty, is a ransom, the feeding of one poor person for every day. Al-Hafiz Ibn Kathir rahimahullah said in his tafsir, included in this meaning is the pregnant woman and the woman who is breastfeeding if they fear for themselves or their children. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah stated in the Majmu'ah al-Fatawa, if the pregnant woman fears for her fetus, then she should break her fast and make up every day and feed a poor person 1 unit weight of bread against each of the days that she missed. So she will be, again, feeding a poor person for every day that she missed. So we now turn to some of the Masa'il regarding a woman who is fasting. We begin with the woman afflicted with false menstruation. This is known as istihada. Istihada or breakthrough bleeding. This is the woman who sees blood that is not due to menstruation. As has previously been mentioned, it is obligatory for her to fast, and it is not permissible for her to break her fast as a result of this type of blood. So again, for the woman who is experiencing istihada or breakthrough bleeding, it is obligatory for her to fast. It is obligatory for her to fast. The Sheikh wanted to mention that Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, after mentioning the breaking of the fast in the case of the menstruating woman, said, unlike false menstruation, because it could occur at any time, and thus the woman may not have a chance to make up the fast she misses. This is unavoidable, like vomiting, bleeding from a wound, pus, or nocturnal emissions, and similar things which can occur at any time, making it impossible to predict. So they are not considered as anything that negate fasting, like the blood of menstruation. So again, if a woman is experiencing istihada, then she is obligated to fast. Okay, so we move now to number 2, and it is obligatory For the menstruating woman, the pregnant woman, and the woman who is breastfeeding to make up the days that they have missed during Ramadan at the end of the month of Ramadan and before the next Ramadan. And he wanted to say that it is better for them to make up the fast early. And if there only remains between them the beginning of the next Ramadan, the number of days that she missed, then it becomes obligatory upon her to fast those days so that she doesn't enter the next Ramadan while she still has fast from the Ramadan, the last Ramadan to make up. And if she does not do this and she enters the next Ramadan, then she did not have an excuse, and she did not have an excuse in delaying those fasts. She still has to make them up, and she also has to feed a poor person against each day. If she did have an excuse, she only has to make up the missing days. The same conditions or rulings apply to the woman who broke her fast due to sickness or traveling. So I just want to insert a reminder in here for the young women who are in childbearing years. Be careful of this. Make up your days as quickly as you can, as soon as you are able to, when you are fit to, and you can make them up in the winter time if possible, when the days are shorter. But I just urge you to make them up as efficiently as possible, as quickly as possible, because you don't want them to start piling up on you in childbearing years. Then before you know it, you're pregnant again, you're breastfeeding again, and it's easy to let this get away from you. So I'm just reminding our young sisters in their childbearing years, this can be easily overlooked. So just be cautious about this matter. Now, the Sheikh want to talk about it is not permissible for a woman to fast a non-obligatory fast if her husband is with her unless she has his permission. So think about that and consider that, and this has been mentioned, that if it's not obligatory, then you have to have your husband's permission before you can make that fast. So the Sheikh said that this is proved by what is narrated from Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim and others from Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said it is not permissible for a woman to fast while her husband is present unless with his permission. And in some narrations of Ahmed and Abu Dawood, the Sheikh said except for the fasting of the month of Ramadan. However, if her husband grants her permission to fast a non-obligatory fast, or her husband is not with her, or she is unmarried, then it is mustahab for her to fast, particularly on those days which are mustahab to fast, like Mondays and Thursdays, the 3 days of every lunar month, the full moon days, the 6 days of the month of Shawwal, and the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, in the days of Arafah and Ashura, along with the day before and after it. However, he said it is not appropriate for her to fast a non-obligatory fast while she still has to make up days that she missed from Ramadan until she has made up those days, and Allah knows best. And then, if the menstruated woman regains her state of purity during the daytime in the month of Ramadan, she should abstain from eating and drinking for the remainder of the day and make up the entire day along with the days that she missed due to her menstruation. Her abstinence for the remainder of the day on which she regained her purity is obligatory for her out of reverence for the period, meaning the time of the blessed month of Ramadan. Now from Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah regarding the issues of bleeding and fasting. What should a woman do when she does not make up for the days that she did not fast in Ramadan due to her menses? So to make this matter a little more clearer for our sisters so that there is no doubt in this matter whatsoever. So again, what should a woman do when she does not make up for the days that she did not fast in Ramadan due to her menses? The Sheikh said that it is regrettable for something like this to happen amongst the believing women. This is either due to ignorance or laziness, and both reasons are wrong, because the cure for ignorance is to ask those who know, and the cure for laziness is the fear of Allah and His punishment. So a woman who may have done this should sincerely repent to Allah and seek His forgiveness. She should also try her best to find out the number of days that she missed and make up for it, and ask Allah to accept the repentance of such women. And if it is asked, a woman has reached 65 years of age. She did not give birth to any child during the last 19 years. For the past 3 years, she had continuous bleeding. What should she do for fasting, and what should women like her do regarding the salah and fasting? The Sheikh said, this type of woman should refrain from fasting and salah during the time of her regular cycle of menses. Again, during her regular cycle of menses. If, for example, she used to have her normal period of menses during the first 6 days of the month, then she should refrain from fasting and praying during the first 6 days of each month. Once this is done, she should take a bath and perform the salah and fast. As to the how she offers her salah, she should wash her private parts well and apply a pad to it and make ablution. She does this at the time of the obligatory prayers. She can also do the same for the optional prayers at times other than the times of the obligatory prayers. Because of the difficulty encountered by such women, it is allowable for her to combine but not shorten the Dhuhr with the Asr prayer, the prayer either at the time of Dhuhr or at the time of Asr, and the Maghrib with the Isha prayer, and pray either at the time of Maghrib or at the time of Isha. And this way she can do this type of preparation for her salah 3 times a day, including 1 for the Fajr prayers. Instead of 5 times a day, she can perform optional prayers. She can perform optional prayers based upon her ablution for either of the combined prayers. So again, she has the ability to combine her salah, and this is a question that I get often as well. So let's just pay attention to that. She has the ability, it is allowable for her to combine the Dhuhr with the Asr at the time of Dhuhr or at the time of Asr, and the Maghrib with the Isha, and it can be prayed either in Maghrib or Isha. And this is from our Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah. Now, what if it was asked, a woman broke her fast in Ramadan for 7 days while she was in the fast. She did not make up for those days because she claimed that she was ill. In the following month of Ramadan, she did not fast 7 more days because she was breastfeeding. Then what should she do? The Sheikh said, if indeed she was ill and could not make up for the first 7 days, then she is excused though the following Ramadan has passed. And if she was not really ill but rather lazy, then she has committed sin and must sincerely repent to Allah. Aisha radiallahu anha could not make up for some of her missed days of fasting from a particular month of Ramadan up until the month of Sha'ban, meaning that the month that preceded the month of the next Ramadan, and that's the month that we're in now. So she couldn't make up her fast until the month of Sha'ban, which is the month before Ramadan, which is the month that we are in now. Narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, and she said, sometimes I miss some days of Ramadan but could not fast in lieu of them except in the month of Sha'ban. So the Sheikh went on to say, so if the woman has a real excuse, then she can make up her missed days of the she can make up her missed days of fasting a year or even 2 later. So in other words, she has the year to make up the missed days before the next Ramadan, and so she really should be very, again, just keep that in mind, sisters, to be vigilant about this matter. Now, a woman lost her burden in an accident following intensive bleeding, meaning she had a miscarriage. She was in her early stage of pregnancy. Is it permissible for her to not fast, or should she resume fasting? And does she commit a sin if she did not break her fasting? Sheikh Uthaymeen said, I say, as Imam Ahmed said, the pregnant woman does not have menses. Women recognize that they are pregnant once their normal cycle of menses stop. Menses, as some scholars said, has been created by Allah as a means for providing nutrient for the embryo. Once pregnancy occurs, menses stops. The mens stops. Some women, however, may continue to have menses after being pregnant. This is considered as true menses because the original menses was not affected by pregnancy, and hence all the laws applicable to menses are applicable. The other kind of bleeding is accidental due to the lifting of something, falling, or something like this. And this is not men's blood, but a bleeding from a blood vessel, and thus it does not prevent the pregnant woman from fasting or performing prayers. Her status is the same as that of a clean woman. So again, one more time. The bleeding that is accidental due to lifting something or falling or something like this. Again, he said that this is not men's blood, but a bleeding from a blood vessel. And thus it does not prevent the pregnant woman from fasting or performing prayers. And in the case of an accidental delivery, and the load clearly has human features. So the embryo clearly has human features. Then the post-delivery bleeding is considered by learned Muslim scholars as nifas. Thus the woman should refrain from fasting and prayers, and her husband should not have sexual intercourse with her until she becomes clean. She is tahira. If the delivery load does not have human features, the embryo does not have human features, then her bleeding is not nifas, but spoiled blood, and that does not prevent her from the salah or fasting and etc. Learned Muslim scholars said that the least period upon which human formation occurs inside the mother's womb is 81 days. 81 days. In accordance with the hadith related by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, in which he said that the Prophet ﷺ said, each one of you is collected in the womb of his mother for 40 days, and then he turns into a clot for an equal period of 40 days, and turns into a piece of flesh for a similar period, meaning 40 days. And then Allah sends an angel and orders him to write 4 things, i.e. the provision, his age, and whether he will be of the wretched or the blessed in the hereafter. The Sheikh commented by stating, it is not possible that the burden may acquire the human formation prior to this period of 81 days, and most likely this period is 90 days, as said by some of the ulama. Is it permissible for the woman to use pills that prevent the mens during Ramadan? What is the ruling regarding using such pills? So it was asked, some women intentionally take pills during Ramadan to prevent the monthly period, the menses. The reason for this is so that they will not have to make up for the days after Ramadan. Is this permissible, or are there any restrictions regarding this for the women to act according to? So Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, my opinion concerning this matter is that the woman should not do this, and she should remain upon what Allah decreed and wrote upon the daughters of Adam. For verily Allah has wisdom in making this monthly cycle. This wisdom suits the nature of the woman. If this natural occurrence is prevented, there is no doubt that there will be a harmful reaction upon the woman's body. Indeed, the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no harming, nor is there reciprocating harm. Again, pay attention to this principle that is coming from his statement. There is no harming, nor is there reciprocating of harm. The Sheikh went on to say, this is without consideration of what these pills cause of harms to the womb, as the doctors have mentioned. Thus, my opinion concerning this matter is that the woman should not use these pills, and all praise is due to Allah for His decree and His wisdom. When the menses come to her, she abstains from fasting and prayer, and when she becomes pure, she returns to fasting and prayer. Then when the Ramadan ends, she makes up for whatever that she has missed of fasting. Again, this is from the statement of Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah, the great Sheikh of Islam, Al-Alama. We ask Allah to reward him for all the good that he has left behind for us and clarifying this deen for us. Keep this in mind, sisters. Be patient. What is the lesson that's coming out of this? What are we getting out of this? Be patient with the decree of Allah Ta'ala, and do not harm your body out of impatience, because it is usually out of impatience that we bring harm to ourselves. So be patient, and when the mens come, do not take these pills at all. Leave these pills and leave this matter altogether, and be grateful when your mens comes, because there is much wisdom in Allah's decreeing of the mens for the female. If the woman becomes pure after Fajr, then she abstains and makes up for the fast. So the question is, if the woman becomes pure immediately after Fajr time, does she abstain and fast this day, with it being considered a day for her, or is it obligatory on her to make up for that day? So the Sheikh said, if the blood stops flowing from her during the time that Fajr comes in, or a little before it, then her fast is correct and she is credited with fulfillment of that obligation, even if she did not bathe until after it became morning. However, if the blood did not stop until after it was clearly morning, meaning Fajr had entered in and it's clear that it is Fajr, then she abstains during that day, but it is not accepted from her as a fast. Rather, she makes up for that day after Ramadan. So if her bleeding stops after Fajr, she will abstain from the fast, but she will still make up for the day. The fasting of the woman with post childbirth bleeding. As a reminder, let's look at this again. That if I gave birth a week before Ramadan, for example, and I became pure before completing the 40 days, is it obligatory upon me to fast? Let's listen to the wording of this. She said, and I became pure before completing the 40 days. Is it obligatory upon me to fast? So then the Sheikh said, yes, whenever the woman with post-childbirth bleeding becomes pure, and that which she knows to be a sign of her purity becomes apparent to her, which is the white pad or total cleanliness, then she fasts and prays. It makes no difference if it's even a day or a week after giving birth. For verily there is no limit for the minimum amount of postnatal bleeding. Some women do not see any blood at all after giving birth. Reaching a period of 40 days is not a condition. Please listen to this, sisters, because in some cultures it is, and I was taught this as a new Muslim, that we were to wait 40 days before we went back to praying. So you're sitting there and you're not even bleeding, but out of your ignorance, you don't know any better, then you're just waiting, and you've been clean for a week or 2 days or 3 days or whatever the case may be. So please understand, this is something that was taught to us early on. Again, remember that I've been Muslim for over 34 years, and we did not have what we have today. We didn't have access to the scholars that we have today. We didn't even have access, and I didn't, by the way, in the locale that I was located in. We didn't have access to all that you have been blessed to have today, mashallah, tabarakallah. So this came from someone's culture that you wait 40 days before you go back to praying and fasting. This is erroneous. Please ignore this. There is no, as the Sheikh has just mentioned here, there is no basis for this in Islam. Once you have noticed that you have that white creamy discharge, and everybody knows when their mens is over, then at that point you make your ghusl, you take your ritual bath, and you go back to worshiping Allah through fasting and praying. Now let's look at the woman whose bleeding returns while she is fasting. So if the woman with postnatal bleeding becomes pure within a week, then she fasts with the Muslims during Ramadan for a number of days. When her bleeding returns, does she break her fast in this situation? Does she have to make up for the days that she fasted and the days that she broke her fast? Now Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah said, if the woman with postnatal bleeding becomes pure within 40 days and she fasts some days, then her bleeding returns during the 40 days. Her fast is correct. Again, her fast is correct. She must leave off the prayer and fasting during the days that her bleeding return, because it is postnatal bleeding, until she becomes pure or completes the 40 days. When she completes the 40 days, then she must bathe, even if she does not think that she is pure, because the 40 days is the end of the postnatal bleeding, according to the correct view between the two opinions of the scholars. After that, she must make wudu for the time of each prayer until bleeding stops, as the Prophet ﷺ commanded the women with a prolonged flow of menstrual blood to do so. Her husband may enjoy sexual relations with her after the 40 days, even if she does not think that she is pure. This is because the postnatal blood and the situation mentioned is not postnatal blood. That does not prevent the prayer and fasting, nor does it prevent the husband from his sexual enjoyment with his wife. However, if after the 40 days the bleeding coincides with her normal time of menstruation, again, if after the 40 days, this is the extended length that you are given for postnatal bleeding, after 40 days, then we're going to bathe and we're going to pray. So he said, if after the 40 days the bleeding coincides with her normal time of menstruation, then she leaves off the prayer and fasting, and she considers it as a menstrual cycle. And the Shaykh concluded by saying, and with Allah, and Allah is the giver of success. So what this says to us, sisters, is that we should be keeping a jadwal. We should be keeping a calendar of our menses. This is very important that we keep a calendar of our menses and we map that out, because you never know when you're going to come up with one of these situations, be it istihada bleeding. You know, you just never know. I get these questions almost daily regarding istihada bleeding, the breakthrough bleeding, or the prolonged postnatal bleeding, or now the postnatal bleeding running into your menstrual cycle. How will you know if you haven't kept a check on it? So this lets us know that we really should be vigilant about recording our mens days, so that if we do come up with these issues, then it does not overcome us. We're not overburdened by it. We're able to make a decision based upon our firm knowledge of our own mens. We should know our menstrual cycle. We should know our mens, because our worship is dependent upon this knowledge. It will make things much easier for us when we know our bodies, when we know our cycle. Now we know this is breakthrough bleeding. I've been bleeding for too long. My days are normally 6 days, and they normally fall at this period of the month. And granted, sometimes the cycle does change, but if we are mapping it out, this will make things far easier for us. Let's look now at the ruling on delaying the bathing for menstruation until the time of Fajr enters. And again, this is a reminder because we cannot have enough of this information and be armed enough. When Ramadan comes in, then yes, the big shaitan is locked down. However, we will still have this doubt that's coming to us to sabotage our fasting. We want to be so careful. We want to be armed with as much information as possible before the month even begins, which is why I started 6 weeks prior to Ramadan. So that I could try to get out as much information to my sisters as possible, so that we are armed and we are prepared and we are relaxed and ready for the fasting. We're not going into the month with confusion, having questions. We are armed with as much knowledge as that we can get and be prepared for this great event, so that we come into it with confidence and we come into it with the relaxation that we need, that will free us up. Because when we become stressed, then it becomes difficult. So again, is it permissible to delay the bathing for sexual impurity until the time of Fajr enters? And is it permissible for women to delay the bathing for menstruation or postnatal bleeding until the time of Fajr enters? So Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah said, if the woman sees that she has become pure before the time of Fajr, then she must fast, and there is no harm in her delaying the bathing until after the time that Fajr has entered in. However, she may not delay it until sunrise. She may not delay it until sunrise. Rather, she must bathe and pray before sunrise. Likewise, the sexually impure person may not delay bathing until after sunrise. Rather, he must bathe and pray the Fajr prayer before sunrise. It is also obligatory on the man to make haste in this, so that he can catch the Fajr prayer with the congregation. Ladies, listen to this statement of the Sheikh as he is cautioning the men that they should be making haste to make their ghusl and be off to the masjid, so that they can catch the Fajr prayer with the congregation. So now it lies on our married sisters and for the mothers, and for sisters with brothers. Okay, you may have a brother in the household, and you may be the older sister. If you have males in the household, you must remind them to make their way to the masjid to offer their prayer in the congregation. The hardest salah for the hypocrite. The hardest salah for the hypocrite is the Isha and the Fajr prayer. Keep this in mind, because we want to guard our household. Allah states in the Quran, save yourself and your families from the fire. So we women, we have the ability to remind our men folk, and we should stand over them and remind them of this duty to make their way to the congregation of Salah in the masjid, so that they don't fall into this category of hypocrisy. Men should be praying in the masjid. So we should be vigilant and being on that, and reminding husbands, and moms, kick the sons out. Without a doubt, get the sons out of the house. Get them off to the masjid, even if you have to take them to the masjid yourself. Because the more that they're praying in the masjid, the more safer your home is going to be. The more that the men are praying in the masjid, the safer our homes are going to be. So that's just a reminder, listening to what the Sheikh said here about getting the ghusl and getting off to the masjid in time to offer that prayer, that Fajr prayer in congregation. Please don't take this for granted, sisters. Please don't take this for granted. This is a mighty matter when it comes to our men folk praying in congregation. This is the description of the Ummah of Muhammad. This is what makes us the Muslims. This is what made the early generation strong. This is what made them the people that they became, the great people that they became. May Allah be pleased with all of them. The men were praying in the congregation. The hypocrites did not go to the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ even said that if they knew, and I'm paraphrasing here, that if they knew there was a meaty bone, then they would be there. Take heed to this matter. This is what made them the great generations that they were. And this would make us regain our greatness as a nation in Islam. If we dragging our feet in the salah, you've lost it. You've lost the battle altogether. This is what makes us strong. This is what holds us together. This is what unites us as an ummah. And we women have a role to play in this. Don't sit back and let your man lay in the bed with you, next to you at Fajr time, when you know this man should be praying in congregation in the masjid. What good is he to you if he's laying in the bed next to you? What good is he to you if he's laying in bed like a female? Forgive me if it sounds a little strong to you, but this is the case. If he's laying in bed like a female like you, what good is he to you as a man? He's not even a man if he's laying in bed next to you like a female. After you've offered your salah, after you got up and offered your salah, because it is assumed you've already offered your salah. I'm saying that you have offered your salah. Now your man's laying in the bed and you offering salah, and he didn't make it to the salah in the masjid. What do you need him for? What can he do for you as a man? I'm just being straight about the matter. I'm just being honest about the matter. Stop having false hopes in a man who's not praying in congregation, in the proper congregation in salah, in the masjid. You are only living under false hopes. You're only living under false hopes. Kick that man out the house and get him to the salah in the masjid so he can benefit you and your family. May Allah make that easy for us all. Ameen. So this will bring an end to our program for today. And I ask Allah Ta'ala to reward all of those that is making this possible, to empower women with the proper knowledge of Islam. I ask Allah Ta'ala to reward the administration at Islam Radio for their efforts in making this the dawah of the Salafiyat available. May Allah bless them, and I ask everyone to support this effort, to support an effort where women are able to learn this deen from women, from the proper resources, of course. No one is asking that we just get on here and start talking from our desires, but we make every effort to bring this knowledge from the authentic sources. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to reward the staff at Islam Radio for their efforts, and I ask all of you who are listening to this to support this effort, even if it's $2, even if it's $5, or even if you can make the dua to keep this effort going, because this is not being offered on a regular basis amongst the Salafiyin. We do have mashallah tabarakallah, other sisters who are doing their best to bring knowledge to the sisters from where they are at, but for us to be able to stick to these authentic sources the way that we are and to offer them, it's not going to be popular. Never has been popular. So I do ask you that if you've benefited at all, please support these efforts from Islam Radio and the other programs. Mashallah tabarakallah, we have Abu Maryam who is doing his program every Saturday. Mashallah, may Allah reward him for that. We have Maryam, mashallah, who brings her reminders, such beautiful reminders from Islam Life Radio as well, and from our Sheikh who is also giving us authentic information through Islam Life Radio. Please support this effort. You're not going to always have this. It's not going to always be around. So you have the opportunity to cash in on this. After all, you will receive Ajr and Jariyah if you pitch in and help out with this. Any mistakes that have been made from this presentation is myself and Shaitan. I ask Allah to forgive me for that. And everything that was said that was correct was certainly from Allah, and I ask Allah's reward for that. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I do invite you back after Ramadan. We will continue the series on the family. We've been going through marriage, mashallah tabarakallah, at a great extent. We will get into divorce. We will get into raising the children according to Quran and Sunnah. So I just pray that you stick with us in this endeavor, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.